Hey everyone, it's James from Genuine again, and I'd like you to meet the Royal Alloy Grand Prix 300S, a scooter that merges timeless style with modern performance and conveniences. This walkthrough video highlights the premium features, powerful engine, and retro-inspired design that make this scooter the ultimate modern classic. The great thing about the Grand Prix 300S, and there's many great things, but in my opinion, the great thing about this scooter is this vintage look, and it's not just a vintage look, it has a vintage feel as well. And when I say that, I mean all metal. You have all metal panels on this scooter. There's a few exceptions, like the front fender's plastic in case you bump into something it'll bend, because those are notoriously difficult to replace on metal bodied scooters. But the vast majority of this scooter has metal body panels, and that gives you a different look and feel and ride. Very much a great aesthetic as well. You see the paint has high gloss, but also there's a fine metallic in this specific color. The seat has like a grain texture and feel and look, like lychee look. So there's a lot of elements that are drawn into the scooter. Barrel style grips, you see copious amount of chrome. All of these things lend into a vintage classic styled scooter. The Grand Prix 300S is inspired from the Italian brand Lambretta. So those of you that are true Lambretta enthusiasts, or those of you who are just classic scooter enthusiasts, you're going to love this as we get in further. One of the other great advantages of the Royal Alloy is you have that classic look, but you have all the modern conveniences and technology that you find in today's advanced motorcycle systems. This, for example, has EFI, it has ABS, all of the things that you remember from classic scooters of the past, carburetors, chokes, and none of that applies here. So you have a 300cc, actually 278cc motor, EFI, ABS, a lot of creature comforts that you're going to love when we dig in further on the Grand Prix 300S. One thing that you may notice is on the underside of this scooter is a radiator. So that means this scooter is liquid cooled, and that's a huge benefit to those of you who are used to riding at higher speeds, longer distances. The scooter has a top speed of near 80 miles an hour, and with liquid cooling in a radiator, you can be confident that you will not be damaging your scooter at these speeds. If there's a phrase to use to describe this scooter, it's attention to detail. And when you really get up close and look at the Royal Alloy, you'll notice the badges, they're all metal. These are machined, there's like a rainbow effect. Very precision machining has gone into this on both badges here, all three badges actually on the front of this scooter. And when you walk, there's like a rainbow effect. We'll show some of that in video coming up. But this scooter has an amazing attention to detail that when you really look at it, it just has that wow factor. And every time I see one of these riding down the road, it just has a feel that none of the other scooters quite have. You'll see Royal Alloy incorporated in the headlight, nice chrome bezels. These are premium chrome mirrors. They just upgraded these for this model year. So not only do they have some adjustment up and down, you can adjust, you know, height on the mirror itself. This pivots, heavy chrome surface cover. So there's many things about this scooter that scream quality. The bar ends are real heavy chrome. And I think that when you ride this scooter or even just walk up and look at it, you'll realize that this is different than your average scooter. In classic scooter fashion, you can see we've got the flat floorboard with rubber strips here framed by metal. And this is a design element that's been very common on Vespas and Lambrettas and other classic modeled scooters. You can see how nicely done this is. Royal Alloy has really done a great job replicating this and actually improving this from the original designs in the 60s, 70s, 50s even. This is a great scooter. There's also an aftermarket accessory, floorboard rubber pad if you want the entire floorboard rubber. It's designed and made by Royal Alloy. So when you get this classic scooter, you also get all of the traditional options that have been out there for classic scooters. And we'll show some of them in our Scooter Works video, but again, great attention to detail, and these are styling cues that are very much in that retro feel. All right, this scooter is equipped with a glove box, as is traditional for leg shield type scooters. And let's take a look inside. Here you can see there's a nice pocket if you wanted to put your wallet or some other small item. Cleaning cloth sometimes goes in there. We have the owner's manual. And there's a great thing about this. This scooter comes with a toolkit. And this toolkit is handy. Some of you, may not think, well, why would I want tools? For example, if you want to adjust your mirrors, sometimes it's difficult to adjust the position of the mirror without a tool, so this is really convenient for that. And it's got its own pocket right inside the glove box, fits in nicely. Obviously you could fit several other items inside of here. Pretty spacious. So one of the great features, storage features of the Royal Alloy Grand Prix 300. Okay, inside the glove box, we have the USB and the function button. Function button is used for switching between kilometers and miles per hour. Also, trip odometer and regular odometer. All the instructions on how to use this are in your owner's manual. So just take a look at that if you want to switch different modes or do trip odometer, etc. Right now we're talking about this USB charging port. So you see it's 5 volts, 2.5 amps. And you just remove this cover to access. Once you key on, you'll see it illuminates in a blue light color, and that means you have voltage. And once you plug in your USB, things get charging. So when you're done charging, just remove the cord, turn off the scooter. You see the light goes dark, and just replace this cover. Your scooter comes equipped with a great bag hook here. This thing is very, very heavy, and very often you see plastic hooks and stuff. As you can see, this is all metal. The bezel around the key switch, this hook, I use it to hang backpacks and other stuff on it when I need a little bit of extra storage. All right, let's talk about the ignition switch. Let's even back to the keys, the attention to detail. Look how thin they are, chrome, Royal Alloy logo, channel cut. Again, piece by piece, you can see the quality built into the scooter. Insert the key and you'll see it's in the off position. To turn to the right to the on position if you want to ride or power up to charge, see how many miles you have on your scooter, what have you. Off is to the left again in this position, and there's a lock feature. If you turn the handlebars to the left, press in, you go down to the lock and remove the key, the handlebars stay locked to the left. This is just a measure to prevent people from pushing your scooter away onto a truck or something like that. It would require much more effort to actually get it to go anywhere other than a circle with this handlebar in the left locked position. To unlock, reinsert the key and go to the off position. Now the handlebars are free to turn. And that's the ignition function on the Royal Alloy. All right, let's take a look at the seat on this Royal Alloy. As you can see, it's got a nice leather look. There's a pattern grain that's in the material. You've got nice seams here. This is like a dual style seat, so it kind of separates the rider from the passenger if you're riding a passenger. Also, your fuel fill location is right under the seat here. We'll talk more about that later on. But very good grip, surface grip on this. Nice wide cushion, quite thick. There is aftermarket options if you prefer a bench seat that's slightly lower. This is the OEM stock seat though, and as you can see, great color, finish, very premium like the rest of this scooter. Standard equipment on this Royal Alloy has this rear rack, and this rack is great for mounting roll bags. That goes very well with the aesthetic of this vehicle. There's other mounting options for stuff that you may want, like a storage net or some things that you may want to store on the back of your scooter. This is also removable. So Royal Alloy worldwide has gone to one piece that integrates this bracket and the rack. And we've asked on our scooters in the US that they retain this bracket, and that allows us to have more accessory options because it's quite easy to just remove this and install a different style rack. If you wanted more space, you wanted a backrest, there's many different options. But this storage rack on the Royal Alloy is perfect for adding any additional items that you want on your next adventure. As we mentioned earlier, attention to detail. This Royal Alloy is loaded with that. As you can see, chrome accents here on the side. These are only on the GP300S. Also, passenger foot pegs that are retractable. So if you're riding solo, you could keep these back. If you have somebody that wants to join you for a ride, just simply press in on this and out comes the passenger foot pegs. And this provides very secure footing, which gives a sense of safety and comfort to your passenger. You want everybody that's riding with you to have a great time. This certainly secure footing helps with that dramatically. And just simply put it away when you're done. All right, let's take a look at the front end of this vehicle. There's a lot going on in this shot. You may or may not realize it. You know, it kind of blends away because of the beauty of this scooter. But in this shot, there's a ton of technology, and we're going to go into that. First, let's talk about the brakes. As you can see, this has a wave-type braking rotor, and you can see that in the shape. And what that does is it helps dissipate heat. So if you're riding, say, Deals Gap or some other real twisty place, and you're on the brakes a lot, having that extra surface area just creates more air turbulence, which cools down your brake rotor. Great feature to have on a scooter. Dual piston front caliper. Here that just means you're getting pressure, hydraulic pressure in these two locations. One of the other things you'll notice here, this is a steel braided brake line. So many scooters come with, you'll see a thicker rubber line. And again, in hard braking situations where your front end is getting hot from, braking is a function of friction, right? So the friction creates heat. And with a rubber line, you could get what's called brake fade. So a rubber line will expand much easier under heat. These steel braided lines prevent expansion because they're metal. Metal does not expand very well, especially under heat. You also see a smaller diameter. So another great feature, you're very consistent braking regardless of riding conditions. Another great feature. This system has ABS as well. So if you get into a situation and the road conditions may be wet, there's gravel, you grab a load of front brake and the wheel tries to lock up, your ABS system will pulse in very microsecond type pulses, and it will release hydraulic pressure, and you'll get this like grinding, crunching feel at the brake lever. But what it does is it allows the front wheel, instead of locking up and just sliding out from under you in slippery conditions, it allows the front wheel to just slowly keep turning without locking up. And it's a great feature. It saves many situations, many people from crashing in situations where there's slippery road conditions. So modern technology in this classic scooter is really a great feature. One other thing I'd like to point out, this scooter has this anti-dive like front fork system. It's not a traditional hydraulic fork. You actually have shocks mounted to this front fork here. And there's, you know, cantilevers and levers and stuff going on here, but this is great because you see it has adjustability. So this collar, you can adjust the spring preload depending on your personal preference, your riding weight, whether or not you're carrying a heavy load because maybe you're on a longer trip. This is adjustable here at the collar. You can increase spring preload or decrease spring preload depending on how you want the ride and the load of your vehicle. The Royal Alloy has ABS installed as a standard feature. Let's take a look a little bit further. You look down here, you'll see this ring on the front rotor. Most scooters do not have that. What that is, they call it a tone ring. And you'll see this wire. This wire is connected to a sensor. So this sensor detects these small gaps in the wheel. It's called a wheel speed sensor. So it measures the speed of this wheel. And if this wheel ever goes from, say, 30 miles an hour to 0 under heavy braking because you grabbed too much lever and you locked up the front brake, that'll actually never happen on this scooter because the ABS system will detect a severe decrease in wheel speed based on this sensor, and it will start to mitigate that by pulsing the hydraulic fluid. It has an electronic controller system that's integrated into the brakes, and it will start controlling the brakes for you, and that helps this wheel from locking up, and that can save you from crashing in slippery conditions. So great safety feature. All right, we have two stand options. As you can see, Royal Alloy is equipped with side stand, traditional. That's quick, easy. Also, if you're on like an angled surface, a hill or something, this is quite convenient. We also have the center stand option. Just simply fold that up and step on this pedal back here, and you're on the center stand. This is great if you want to run the motor, you're in a garage, a very flat surface. You want to do stuff on the front of the bike, you can actually tilt it up somewhat. So, two great storage options on this scooter. The Royal Alloy slogan is a modern classic. So again, we've talked about some of the other modern features on the scooter. Let's talk about this engine. So this is a 278.3 cc. It's a 4-stroke with liquid cooling. As you can see, there's a radiator, cooling reservoir, some hoses under here. And it's got electronic fuel injection, Magneti Marelli system, which is a legacy Italian EFI system. Also, this motor may look quite familiar to you. This is a Piaggio designed, Piaggio Vespa Group designed motor. This is a GTS based 278 that has been in service for decades around the world, and it's been proven. And you know, after a period of time, Piaggio Vespa releases these engine designs to other suppliers. And so what does that mean for you? A, this means you have a motor that's been proven over decades worldwide. B, this motor has a lot of aftermarket options. So if you wanted to change maybe the CVT components because you want faster acceleration or you want slightly higher top speed, there's a ton of options on the market already designed for this scooter. Let's get into the liquid cooling aspect of it. So liquid cooling means that you're sitting at a stop sign, it's hot in the summer, and you know the fan will kick on. It's going to keep your engine running at optimal temperature at all times. With the first model year that we had this scooter, we did, you know, it was released in Europe for a couple of years, and when we brought it here to the States, we had a couple consumers in Arizona, in California, and some of the hotter desert areas say, hey, you know, my scooter seems to be running a little on the hot side. And so people got nervous. What we did, and we're going to show some video from this, we actually worked with Royal Alloy did a bunch of R&D here in the United States and entirely upgraded the cooling system, the radiator, this portion of the vehicle. And it's pretty crazy. We got into a testing facility and we determined that the test temperatures that we were at were hotter than it's ever been on the entire Earth in terms of heat index. So we're confident that wherever you are, in whatever conditions you're riding in, you will not have a problem for cooling on your Royal Alloy GP300S. Okay, let's take a look under the seat. There's a few things under here that are going to be interesting to you. First off is this is the fuel fill location. So once you lift up the seat, you'll see this fuel cap here. Lift this flap, insert the key, turn to the left 90 degrees, pull the cap out. You can fill up your scooter with fuel and simply reinsert, turn the key back to the right, take it out, press the flap back down. You're good to ride off. Also, you'll notice on the hinge here, there's a hook, and the purpose of this hook is a helmet hook. So if you pull up to a spot and you want to park and you don't want to carry your helmet around with you, you can just simply throw one, and if you had a second helmet, you could throw that on there and close the seat. And you got a place to just keep your helmet without it falling off the seat, scratching, denting, etc. Very convenient place to locate it. Okay, let's look at the rider controls here. Here you can see the barrel grips with the RA logos. Again, nice attention to detail. And let's get to the controls. This is the front brake on the right-hand side. And on the right-hand switch, you see up is on. This is the kill switch, so off, run. Typically leave this in the on position and turn the key switch on. You see the bike will power. We'll go through key switch function a little bit later as we're still doing the hand controls here. So kill switch located here. When the bike is on and kill switch is in the run position and the brake is on, press the start button, the vehicle will start. Here you can see the brake reservoir. This is your brake fluid level indicator. You can see if you have a low level here on either side. And on the left-hand switch, you've got turn signal at the bottom, left and right. Press center to cancel. Horn button. We'll show you the function of that in a second when the bike is operational. And then this is your high-low. Low beam is normally in the down position. If you're passing, there's got a pass feature where you just tap even lower on the button. It will illuminate the high beam momentarily. Once you release, the high beam will go off back to the low beam. If you want permanent high beam, just hit up. And this is the rear brake on the left-hand side. Ready? Okay, let's take a look at the dash here. When I power on, I want you to notice a few things. The scooter will run through a cycle to basically check all the LCDs on the display to make sure they're functioning properly. Let's key on so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, we get movement, all the numbers run through a cycle. And so here's the main speedometer. This is the RPM at the top. This is the odometer here at the bottom. Right now we're in kilometers. You can switch between kilometers and miles an hour, obviously. Fuel gauge on the left, temperature gauge on the right. Also, when you power on, you see the check engine light illuminates, the oil level light illuminates, the ABS light illuminates. These are basically function checks just so you know the bulb is functioning and that if you do have a problem, this light will illuminate. Once the vehicle is running, this will turn off and this will turn off. The ABS light will stay on until you are moving. Once you move, this ABS light will stop illuminating and it will only come back when you're moving in the event that there is a problem with the ABS system. So just because the light's illuminated, don't be alarmed. It should stay illuminated until the vehicle wheel speed sensor detects that it's rolling. The ABS will run through an internal check to make sure it sees both the front and rear wheel appropriately, so the ECU can confirm, yes, system is working. At that point, this ABS light will turn off. As you can see on the left and right side, we have turn signal indicators. And without the vehicle running, we can flick on the high beam here as well. This is the high beam indicator. So that's the horn. So there you go. There's the dash. Very nice Royal Alloy script. And plain and simple. It just tells you what you need to know and has a couple illumination lights for troubleshooting purposes. But very classic and elegant, integrated into the design of this cast metal headset. Okay, back underneath the scooter, we're looking at the technology features as we discussed. This isn't necessarily technology, but it is a nice feature. Pirelli tires, OEM from the factory. These are Angel Scooter brand, or Pirelli brand Angel Scooter model tires. Obviously, Pirelli is a legacy Italian brand, quality rubber. So right from the start, the Royal Alloy is adding yet another nice feature on the scooter. You can see the Royal Alloy branded calipers, steel braided brake lines, rear disc brake, ABS ring here. Again, all the same technology we discussed at the front of the bike is at the rear of the bike as well. Great stopping power. ECU controlled assist in the event that you get into a bad situation with road surface. The Royal Alloy will take you wherever you want to go. One other thing to note, this has dual rear shocks left and right, and they have adjustable preload. Just like the front, where you have a preload adjuster, you can add spring tension or remove spring tension depending on your desire for a more firm ride or heavier load that you're carrying. Maybe you're riding two up and you want to stiffen the spring a little bit. Maybe you're, loading the back of this to go on a long adventure across the country. Many people have done that on the Royal Alloy. That's where you adjust the rear shock. So again, underneath the beauty of this scooter is just phenomenal modern technology, all high quality components. You're going to love this ride. Also at the front of the bike we have LED lights. So the headlight will not turn on until you actually start the scooter. So key on, start, you see there's a delay, the headlight will then illuminate. That's to make sure you have full battery power to start your scooter, and then once the scooter's running, the light will illuminate. And then as we stated earlier, high beam and flash to pass are both options, all LED, very bright. See Royal Alloy written right across the front of this. It's a great feature, and you can be sure that you will be very able to see everything in front of you at night with these LED lights. Okay, let's take a look at the lights on the Royal Alloy. As I key on, you'll notice LED tail light illuminates. Once I hit the brake, it gets brighter. LED rear turn signals, left and right. So LEDs, as you know, are very bright, much brighter than typical incandescents. And with the LEDs on the rear of this bike, definitely helps you maintain being seen at night where other drivers on the road will see you for sure. All right, let's hear how she sounds. Nice and quiet. Ready to ride? Again, it's James from Genuine Scooters, and thanks for watching. Visit genuinescooters.com to learn even more about the Royal Alloy Grand Prix 300S, and definitely visit your local dealer to experience the Grand Prix 300S in person today.